Hey guys, welcome to the stream space, or welcome back if you've been here before. We have a video, another type of video we've never really done before. This is about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. As some people have been watching on Twitch, we are doing a series on this. We are playing the game. We'll be on later, actually doing exactly that. This is something to know if you're just in the market of buying the game, or you're considering it, or you have it and you're kind of a little bit lost, maybe, or you're not sure what to do. I mean, it's not going to be like a technically guide. Go check out my actual playthrough for that if you have questions about specific parts. Catch us while we're live, and I can even direct you if you're looking for something really specific. Anyways, so this video is what to know when you are going to be playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is before you've even popped the playdisc in, which, I mean, we're getting back into the era of multi-disc games because this game is... it's a 2-disc install, even on the PS5. Whereas on the PS4, it was like that, and the PS5 version for Remake was not. Anyways, let's get into this. Okay, so I made some points here, but this is just to try and keep us on task, because there is a lot of good to knows when it comes to this game. Okay, first off, your save data from Remake. A lot of people are asking about this. Does it carry over? No. It does not. Now, there are some things like ATB abilities that you got in the previous game, like, for example, the Iron Sword's Triple Slash. You get that in the first game by using the ability. In this one, there is no Iron Sword, but you do have the ability. So some of those abilities did carry over for each character. Unfortunately, not all of them, and some of the best ones even aren't there. So, for example, Aerith's Ray of Judgment, which is probably my favorite ability from that one, did not carry over. That would be a cool thing to allow, is ability carryover, but only on New Game Plus, because then they would make sense why they're so jacked up. Anyways, that's kind of my first point, is that it doesn't really carry over, so just keep that in mind. So you can basically, in the game, you can go to Chadley for summonings like you could before, but now they are kind of lumped into the general simulator. They're not their own VR combat session. So in the original, you could use that to actually fight just the summoning, and you could use items, and it was like a normal fight. Unfortunately, this time around, you can't do that. So what I would recommend is running around the map and finding these data points. They are like shrines to that summoning, and that will actually allow you to fight a weaker version of the summoning. No, you don't need to find them all. In both Titan and Phoenix's case, I was actually able to beat them with only 1 on Titan and 2 on Phoenix. So there's 3 per summoning. You can't use, and just kind of doubling up the point there, you can't use items in your summon fights, so don't try. It's best to just have like a revive ability of some kind, like raise, or and making sure that everybody is capable of healing with cure, and they have abilities for elemental attacks that they don't have to be using mana to actually pull off. Save their mana for healing and revival. So that way you can kind of last out the fight, outlast the summoning. If you have finished the DLC in Remake, you can actually get Leviathan and Rama right off the bat. You can obtain them through, you press your option /start button, go down to system, and then you can go to DLC and bonuses, and then you will be able to actually obtain an orb of those 2 materia, and then set them to whichever character you want to have them. Earning weapon abilities is the same. Get the weapon equipped, use the ability, and then change to whatever weapon you want. A side note to this, and I didn't think of this until now, was when it comes to weapon upgrading, it's not really done the same way. So you don't pop into a menu and do a special upgrade or anything like that. Or it kind of looks like the sphere grid from Final Fantasy X / Final Fantasy XII. It's not like that. It is, you get a list of abilities, and that's how you do it. You'd use the folio to upgrade each character's individual set of abilities, and then they carry those regardless of whichever weapon they're holding. So, for example, you get these elemental attacks, as I mentioned before, that don't require MP to use, just AP. And they do set off stagger, they do set off weakness, so they actually are elementally imbued. It's actually a good little tie-in. Even if I'm not 100% a fan of losing that particular upgrade menu, it was pretty straightforward. So basically the way it works is everybody has their weapon, defensive item, accessory, and then they have all of their materia slots, and then they have a weapon ability slot. So you can only really have one equipped at a time, which I'm not a fan of that, but honestly, there are worse things that they can do in remakes and continuations and stuff. So I mean, fine, they tried to change it up. It is what it is. Gameplay is the same for the most part. So if you're wondering, like, is this going to play like a different game? No. The combat is basically the same. They have added a lot of like really fun mini games and stuff for you to play. Or so, for example, there's Fort Condor. It looks like that'll be continuing. I haven't gotten there yet, but I've heard rumors of it. There is Queen's Blood, which is essentially a battle card game, which I actually quite enjoy. I actually spent a good hour and a half of a stream just learning how to play the game properly. It's basically it's a summoning game where you have to keep control of the board by summoning better monsters than them, and you eventually plays very much like Gwent from The Witcher, minus some of like the weather effects and stuff. Like you can't imbue the field with weather effects and stuff. But yeah, aside from that, the gameplay is mostly the same. You control your characters the same way. Don't ignore the crafting. Crafting is really important in this game. You'd think it's a pass-off, but honestly, it is really worth doing. The items that you can make in it are actually typically better than any of the ones that you could buy. You can even craft defensive items, and those are nice. A lot of them actually have extra materia slots, especially if you build them early game, so that you can have more materia in their defensive item slot. New Game Plus is a thing, and obviously you have to beat the main story to accomplish this, but then it'll let you obviously carry all your content forward to another playthrough. And an additional thing to this is it will allow you to bench Cloud as the leader. You don't need to have him around. Vincent will join your team. The only problem is they're going to do him just like they did with Red 13 in Remake Part 1, where he would join the team but not be a playable character. He would join as a guest. So if you're wondering, like, when do I get to play as this guy? Yuffie does join your team, and she is a continuable playable. So one of the special characters is at least sticking around. I will maybe add a note to the video description of this one of what the playable characters are, just because I'm not finished the game, and I'm not going to look it up because I don't want to spoil things for myself, because that's just how you end up doing that. Backline characters are a thing. So the characters that are not in your main party, if you're roaming around in the open world, which the game is open world, by the way, predominantly open world. It has a linear story, but there's a lot of free roam that you can do. You can just run around and fight to your heart's content and stuff like that. But backline characters are essentially characters. They're also there in your fights when you're using your main team. However, they're just kind of there in a supporting role, so they're not attacking as aggressively. You can't take control of them mid-fight, but they are there, kind of lending a bit of an assist. So far, I have not seen this in any boss fights, so just keep that in mind. Exploring is worth it, but it's not mandatory. You could literally, like, a lot of the time, there are pretty much no quests and side quests that are they're not forcing you to go do them. However, I would perhaps recommend doing these things because that's how you find extra weapons. That's how you gain extra experience so you're ready for your next major fight. You get extra materia, the ability to craft it, exploring the world, activating towers, finding materia springs and the summoning springs. They make your life easier when you're trying to do things like, for example, I'm total whore when it comes to select the summonings. And Final Fantasy VIII was my favorite for this because it had so many. But this one I've got so many summonings I can't even equip them to all my characters. So, I mean, there is this part of 7 that's kind of frustrating, that it's like, I got one summoning per character. This isn't fair. I don't get to use them all. Anyways, kind of a side point, and it's not really related to any of the other points I plan to make after this one. When you're dealing with your summoning fights, plan accordingly. Like, if you have to go in once just to die not knowing what their weakness is, but you go in, you do your assess to figure out what they're weak against, what the strategy actually is for them, So I'll just give you an example for Titan. He is weak against wind, and you can really hit up his stagger bar by doing that. And when you do that, when you can use the right attack, you put them in pressured mode, which means their gauge for stagger fills even faster. So it's really important to actually figure out what that is, which is a later point on this list, and we'll get to that one. But you go in prepared for each fight accordingly. You pack wind materia for what's his name, for Titan. You pack a bit of a variety for Phoenix because she summons creatures that have various weaknesses. You prepare all your heals so that you can heal without using items, and then you stick to your ATB abilities for doing elemental damage and such. Just, yeah, reiterating some points from before. But exploring is worth it, but not mandatory. You don't have to. But I recommend it because it is actually a lot of fun, and it's one of the things that makes this game shine, is that you can explore and it not feel like too much of a chore. Anyways, continuing on. Change characters in battle. Some people like to just sit as their main and just beat the shit out of things, or if you're playing as one of the other characters, you don't like switching to the other ones, you'll switch to your favorite and stick to that one. Just like the previous game, remember to switch characters because they will not use some of their abilities without you telling them to do it. So, example being, if they got a limit break, they're not going to use it until you tell them to. They got ATB abilities, they're going to not use them. The only thing you can do in that is you can actually equip autocast and whatever spell you want them to use, and then they'll do that, but they won't do anything else. So they'll do basic attacks, and they will do them slower. So, anyways. Next one. Use Assess. If you are not sure why every hit is reduced 1, reduced 3, reduced 6, reduced 1, use Assess and find out what makes that monster or creature, whatever, tick. Because they all have something that does this. So just don't hesitate to use it. Don't think I know better just because I can read the monster the way it looks. It looks like a machine is weak against lightning. Read it and check, because sometimes you will be thrown for a loop, and that's okay. Anyways. Purple equals weapon. That is if the treasure chest, if you see a purple treasure chest, go to it. It may be difficult, but in a lot of cases when you see them, you can get to them right then and there. It's not like, this isn't a Metroidvania, you're not lacking the skills. It's just figuring out the way over there. You can probably even look it up if you really want to, but if you see a purple chest, while yellow ones typically contain gil and other items, purple almost always contains a weapon. So, especially if you want to build up that ATB skill list, do it. Do it! Anyways, fast travel is an option, and don't be afraid to take advantage of it. Don't be like I was when I first started playing some of the larger games, where I felt that I had to go everywhere the hard way. And I'm particularly annoying with this when it comes to driving games, because I will take the time to drive all the way over. Fun fact, you don't have to. Last fact, and I think this is important for figuring out like how to like best play the game your way. ATB gauges fill up faster when you are playing as that character. So customize that character to play the way you want to play them, so that way you don't feel so bad going to that character. But if you are that character, their gauges will fill faster, which means you can use those ATB skills. Like, focus, thrust, triple slash, not big shot, they don't call it that anymore. Focus shot, I think is what it's called this time. They really reworked a lot of Barrett's abilities, by the way. Like, his don't look the same as they used to, even a little. So, like, it's not, and also remember, like, some limit breaks have been moved down to just ATB abilities, like Braver is an ATB ability as opposed to Cross Slash, which is not an ATB ability, right? Like, I find that to be a bit of a strange, like some of the limits breaks from Remake and this one have changed from how they were in the original game. So we are going to make sure that we continue on with our Remake Classic playthrough, because I guess the story in this one is going to deviate again, just like the last one did a little. So for those of you who are like, is the story the same? I think that there are parts where they're going a different direction. And that's okay to an extent. I mean, I would prefer if maybe they had introduced a mode that was just the classic game. It'd be very difficult to do though from a coding perspective, so I imagine that's probably why they didn't. But that's just an opinion of mine, so I don't know. Thanks for checking this video out. I appreciate it. I am actually going to be doing a little more. I got work to do from here on out. I'm doing up the coffee and making the stuff, but I'm going to post this before I do that. And then we're going to move over. We have a review coming for Rebirth, and we actually are considering doing that review as a video all on its own, as opposed to putting it in the description of the video it belongs to. We'll probably still put our written one in, but I think that we may do an actual video, especially on big titles like this, really anticipated ones and such. We're figuring out some new content because we want to have a little more fun with this channel and get more types of followers. Anyways, thanks for checking out the stream space. I'm Pydera. You can find me over on YouTube as Pydera Space 74 where you're watching this, or you can find me over on Twitch, Pydera_74, where a lot of our live content ends up first. This may change in the future. We'll make sure we tell you guys. There's a couple different ways you can support the channel. First off, of course, is liking, following, and subscribing. Easily the best way to do that. But if you want to, because I mean, if you do your comments, your likes, subscribes, like the YouTube says, okay, people like this guy, let's put him up. Let's put him up. But other ways. Okay, so first one is we have a partnership with W.GG. They actually make energy drinks, or energy drink powder, which, you add some water to a little, they give you a measuring cup in their little tubs, and you have instant energy drink. It can help with workouts and weight loss, and even, well, I'd say that it's jitter free, because I didn't feel the crash that you can sometimes get with a more typical energy drink. So I really enjoyed their product and still do. So we're going to be doing our order for some new stuff pretty quick here. We'll even come on for you guys and try out the flavors and see how we like them. Next up is our new eBay, which is SV Retro Tech. We actually are doing retro video games and even some tech items. We'll just kind of play that part by ear because the shipping is a little pricier on tech anyways. So there's those are the other ones we're doing. You can also, of course, if you use creator code Pydera74 when you're putting your order through of Debbie, you will get we will get 10% of that. Then there's, of course, SV RetroTech, which is our stock entirely. If you were to reach out to me and, mention the channel in a message, I very well may give you 10% off even further. Just not necessarily creator code. We don't have that. But lastly, of course, is the tip link. And you can use that. That's in our YouTube profile, and that's if you want to support our channel directly. That's probably one of the best ways to do it. And if you do it, we'll absolutely make sure that we give you guys a shout out and provide you with some input and say on the channel, and see if there's anything special you want to see us do a video of or go over. We'll look at doing it. Anyways, I'm gonna punch off. I got other things to do. But thanks for checking out this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.